Hello, everybody, and welcome to Amateur Cast, where we're getting you and your replays to be casted for my entertainment and hopefully to help you improve a little bit as well. I'm your host, ZookaMan, and we're going to be going into a TVP. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our players. In the 2 o'clock position on the map, Silent Spring, I believe is what this is called. It's a new map in Ladder Pool, so I'm still kind of getting used to names. We have OopsiE as the red Protoss player who's going to be putting down a pylon, and that is just perfectly fantastic. And his opponent on the opposite side of the map, in the blue, in the Terran, we have theWalurs. My voice totally didn't just crack at the end of that there. No, of course not. That would be super embarrassing. Anyway, let's look at the TVT matchup a little bit here, guys, before we get too far into this. Usually you're going to be seeing a bio versus very heavy AoE, Colossus Storm, and all of that fun stuff with gateway units and as well and stuff like that. However, I have a feeling that this game's going to be a bit different because I know theWalurs. I've casted a couple of his games before in the past. I watch his stream, I see a lot of his games. So I know for a fact that he's a mech player, which means we're going to be seeing lots of fancy, dancy, pantsy mechanical units. Yeah, and of course the Protoss player is probably going to be going for something of the nature of, you know, Protoss with the Gateway Army into Colossus, into Storm, maybe get Immortals later on in the game. But for right now, he's going to be getting a Nexus at 16. That is going to be a Nexus. That is a Nexus first. Nope, that is a Nexus first. You're going to be following that up immediately with a Gateway. Walrus is going to get an SCV in there. Scout that out. Going to have a little bit of battles between this SCV and this drone. And by drone, of course, I mean probe. Barracks is on its way for the Walrus. He already has one gas up and operational, which means we could be seeing a fast factory, which is very indicative of a mech style of play. This could mean a quick starport into Banshees as well. We could also be seeing, looks like it's going to be a reactor in the barracks, which, yeah, it's probably going to be Hellions, actually, which is an interesting decision against Protoss players, but I have seen Walrus do a similar kind of style of build before in the past, though I do not remember the exact timings that he was using. Second gas up from our Protoss player, we have a Cybernetics core on its way from him as well, with getting that second gas pretty much right on time. I personally like getting the 14 double gas, as opposed to getting one gas and then another gas at 22-23. However, with a Nexus first, that's going to be a better decision anyways, because you don't really need as much gas production in the early game when you don't even have, like, gateways and stuff. Factory's going to be finishing up. That's going to be able to do a switcheroo here with this barracks, which means that our Hellions will be out on the map in just a little bit, and they will be able to fry some probes. Ooh, yeah. Cybernetics core is going to be going for Warp Gate Tech because, hey, we love Warp Gate Tech. It's a good unit of such, or building of such, rather. Mothership core is on its way from our Protoss player as well, so he's going to be going for a Stave Nexus first into a Mothership core. But the Walrus, ooh, he's getting sneaky here. We got a starport laying down. So yes, I think I actually know what this build is now from the Walrus. I've seen him do this Hellion build into proxy Banshees, and actually it does pretty darn good, especially against Protoss players. I've seen him win quite a few games with that, actually. A couple of Hellions are going to be getting up in the main base right now, and they're going to be actually able to get up to the workers, which is actually possibly going to get some damage done. But there's a little bit around there with probes. Meanwhile, the Hellions can get up into this army here. That is really low on health. It is going to go down. One worker's killed in that entire thing, which is not necessarily the most cost-efficient way that the Walrus could have handled that. But that's alright. We're going to be having a Hellions over here grabbing for a medevac. I don't know what I was thinking of there. Meanwhile, OopsiE is going to get a little bit suspicious here, dropping down his robotics facility for extra little bit of defense. Wouldn't mind to see another pylon or so be put around here. I know it's a very Artosis style to try to keep one pylon on a lot of buildings, but I think it's kind of a bad idea, especially against a very aggressive player. Excuse me, guys, I'm having a little bit of hiccups. I had grabbed a little bit of bread beforehand for the cast because it's a little bit late and I was getting food. So that's fun. Meanwhile, we're having the Hellions move on into the natural. I almost got you there. Almost said main. And those Hellions are going to be getting into the natural, like I said, are going to be able to get up on distant probes and possibly get a couple of kills. One is going to go down. Another couple are in danger of going down. There goes another one. But they are going to be able to get a little bit of damage. Actually, going to be able to clear away most of that probe line. Up to 10 workers killed from the Walrus. Still not exactly the most cost-efficient you possibly could be right now with those Hellions. But definitely going to be able to get some economic damage done. Back when we do have Cloaking Field up for the Walrus. Oh, that's right there. I was like, oh, why am I not going there? It's on its way right about now. We have the medevac turning on home. Ready for another drop play, maybe? Maybe he's just doing something or another. We'll have to keep an eye on that. It's going to have a couple of Marines out here for a bunker. Extra little bit of defense. Protoss player is going to be dropping down both of his natural simulators. He's also going to be going up onto his Colossus Den, which is probably a good reason why he would be taking those 3rd and 4th geysers. Personally, I like to see a 3rd base in the vicinity of OopsiE right now, besides the fact, actually, now that I think about it, probably not a good idea considering that the Banshee is going to be on the map in just a little bit here. But a 3rd base would be a good thing to have saturated when you get onto medevac production so that you can have, or excuse me, not medevac production, Colossus production. I was looking at the medevac. Colossus production is a lot of gas for those of you who don't know, and really to try to afford it along with the things you need like charge and other upgrades like 1-1, it starts to get a bit expensive on 2 base. So 3 base Protoss with Colossus, that's a really good position to be in, and considering how OopsiE is going up onto his 1-1 right now, he's going to have a little bit less gas or just pretty much income in general to be able to sustain everything that he really wants to kind of get right now. We'll be having an Immortal first out of the robotics facility, which is an interesting decision considering that the Colossus Den has been up for quite a while now. Hopefully he'll start that up soon. I'm not too sure. Maybe he's getting a little anxious. Banshee's going to be getting up into the natural expansion. He's going to be able to poke a little bit and then run on away because it's a Banshee. Oh, no, Walrus, don't lead it to the proxy factory, or starport. That would have been a bad idea. Back home, we do have an armory coming down for the Walrus, so he'll be able to get some further upgrades for his mechanical units. He does have that one engineering base, so he will have the ability to drop down turrets or anything of the sort should he need to. Photon Cannon is going to be coming up into the main base, as well as, I believe, the natural. Yes, going to be helping OopsiE get a little bit of extra defense. This proxy starport is going to get found out, and that is going to be going down very quickly here. The Walrus is not even going to be sweating it too much, going to be building a starport back home, and he'll be able to get another Banshee and when he so desires. Banshee is going to go down over here. It is going to get a couple more probe kills, but up to 14 right now. It's better, it's getting better, but I'm not sure that it's necessarily the most that Walrus probably wanted out of this right now. We're going to be seeing a 3rd CC come up in the very, very top portion of the map. There's going to be a little bit of pause there, but because we're going to replay, that doesn't happen. Thank goodness for that. Drilling Claws are on their way, so we're going to be seeing mines sometime in the near future here from the Walrus. And I kind of like mines in PvP, but I don't know how I feel about them in a mech sense. I hear they're pretty good with a bioforce, especially in the early game when there's a lot of zealots, or in the mid game when there's a lot of charge loss if you manage to snipe down Colossus. But I'm not really 100% certain that it's the best choice to go for them in this matchup. Maybe it is. I don't know. Walrus probably knows a lot more about this game than I do. Excuse me. I feel like I'm actually kind of getting down with something. We have the Incentive Lance on the way from our Protoss player, as well as that shields? That's an interesting decision. He's going for 1-1-1 before he goes for his 2 attack, which is just interesting to say the least. 3rd base is on its way here from OopsiE. Does have 1 Colossus on the map, another one on the way. We do have our good things like charge coming out right now too. 3rd Nexus has been laid down, so he should be able to get proper saturation on that fairly shortly. We're going to have a drop play here with a Hellbats, I believe. which are going to get in, get a little bit of damage done, and actually be kind of cleaned up. These Photon Hands are helping out actually quite a lot with defending. Did manage to have a couple extra probes there, which is always a good thing to see. Back out from the Walrus, we have the +1 on his vehicles and ship weapons. We also have a couple of Vikings heading out on the map, probably going to be preparing for those Colossus that are on the field right about now. Walrus is in a good position here as far as going for that. Widow Mines on their way, of course. That's quite a few mines, to be perfectly honest. That's not a bad thing, but he'll have to be a little bit careful with how he controls. As long as he does that, he should be perfectly fine. We have Widow Mines going out across the map. They're going to probably head towards this third base. Maybe they're going to be heading into the main or the natural, but I think that would be the most advantageous place for him to drop right now. There's a Photon Cannon up here to defend against that, though, so he'll have to be a little bit careful. Maybe he's going for defensive mines? Nope, no, looks he's going for the third. Yes, he's going to go for the third. Blink is on its way yet here from our Protoss player. Which means that his Stalkers will be able to be quite a bit more efficient here, which is always good to see. He has quite a few of them, actually, and only one sentry in this army. I know that sentries aren't necessarily the best in this matchup, but hold on that thought. We're going to have the Widow Mine drops actually going to be getting off a lot of kills onto these probes. A mineral line has pretty much just got cleared there. 27 workers killed so far by the Walrus, and that's going to bring Harvesters into his favor, 64 to 50, and that's a good position to be sitting in as a Terran player on a third base. Gas is going to be coming up over that third base as well, which means that we're probably going to be seeing a transition to more higher tech units. We're having a Widow Mine drop in the main base right now, which is going to get a couple shots off onto these probes, and is going to be able to get that kill count up. Oh my goodness. 38 workers killed this game. Is just a good position for the Walrus to be in. OopsiE looks like he might be wanting to move out to defend against this, but both of the drops are in places that they can't easily be found or dealt with, for that matter. He needs to get probably a Phoenix to be able to take care of most of them. Actually, this one on the top might be a little bit vulnerable. The one at the bottom should be perfectly fine. We do have that +1 in the vehicle armor coming up here from our Terran player. Our Terran player. Yes, that makes sense, Ethan. That makes sense, man. Alright. This is great. Walrus is going to be heading on into the main base again with quite a few of these Widow Mines, actually. I'm able to do quite a bit of damage here, actually. Ooh, oh. Those are going to go down, I believe. It was looking like I'm like, oh hey, they must be burrowed, but I'm a observer, so that's probably not the most true statement. We do have a couple more Widow Mines coming up into the natural. Those aren't going to be able to get too much purchase, but they are going to be chasing around the probes, which is going to be something actually almost barely didn't get a shot off there, which would have been completely devastating to those probes. One of those medevacs are going to go down. The other one is up here, but that might be in danger as well. That being said, Walrus is going to be very comfortably taking a fourth base, and that's a really good position to be in right now, actually. As a Terran player, 4 base, especially as mech, that's really good, especially when you're 1 base ahead of your opponent. OopsiE going to be heading out his units more towards the main, or the front of the base. Is going to be going for a more stalker-heavy composition, which is an interesting decision. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't agree with that in bio, and I definitely don't agree with that necessarily in mech. I understand that the Blink Stalkers can be very effective against the Vikings, but really at the end of the day, this army of the ground is going to be able to punch through it a lot faster than the Stalkers are going to be able to take out the medevacs, I feel, and even to a certain extent the Vikings. We do have a storm on the way. A couple of High Templar were wharfed in, which will be finishing up fairly shortly here. +3 on his ground attacks, and it looks like OopsiE wants to move out across the map right now, but we do have a couple of sensor towers on the map to help detect against what might be going on here. A couple of Hellion's army circling around the map, making sure that there's no hidden bases yet here from the Walrus' opponent. High-stick auto-tracking is going to be finishing up here, which is going to give him increased range on a lot of his stuff, including his PDDs, as well as his missile turrets. We're also seeing that Terran building armor here, which is going to be insanely helpful going on into this later on stages of the game, especially when he wants to rely on planetaries very heavily. 5th base is on its way as well from the Walrus, who's looking in a very, very nice spot as far as economically centered is concerned. We have the Nexus up on the 4th base right now, which is going to be saturated in a little bit here, which is going to help out quite a bit with his gas count. But OopsiE looks like he wants to move out. He smells blood in the water because obviously he's part shark. And he's going to be moving on down to that exposed 5th base. 1, 2, 3, yeah, or 5. Yeah, that's the 6th base. I miscounted. I apologize, guys. We're going to be having that +2 weapons on the vehicles and ships coming out now as well for the Walrus, who is going to be in a little bit of trouble here as the protest player decides he wants to move on in. Ooh, rocks. Rocks. No, not the rocks. Not the rocks. Well, the rocks are dead. Meanwhile, we're going to be seeing Walrus going to be having to lift off this base here. Is not going to try to bring his army down, and by of course, when I say that, he is going to immediately afterwards. That's all right. And that's OopsiE gonna be taking that out actually pretty heavily. He's gonna be going for a blink up on the high ground into the planetary fortress. Which I don't necessarily agree with. With a blink-heavy army, you don't want to do that. We're also going to be seeing a storm coming up onto the Vikings, which is going to be fairly effective, but not as effective as he needs it to be. Like I was mentioning before, the ground army is just going to be able to punch through the ground army of OopsiE, and Walrus is going to take the advantage coming out of that fight, I feel. Yes, he's going to lose a base, but that's going to still put him 1 base ahead of his opponent. And that's a really, really good thing for the Walrus right now, considering that he's going for a lot of very heavy gas constructions, including his Ravens of the Raven Lord. Yeah, I'm not sure. That sounded a lot better in my head, folks. We're going to have a medevac coming on in to death of that Protest army. That was a little bit embarrassing there. Protest level shields are going to be coming out. I don't believe we have... We do have 3-3 on elsewhere, so that'll be getting up to 3-3 comparatively to Walrus's 2-2, I believe, that's just finishing up. So he does have a little bit of an upgrade advantage. However, I feel like his composition is, once again, too stalker heavy to be able to kind of really do all that well against mech. I think the best decision for him to do right now is to go up onto Immortals and start moving up into Tempest as well, because Immortal, Stalker, Archon, and Tempest, I believe, those are like the 4 really good key compositional units you want against a very heavy mech player, especially once that player starts transitioning more into air mech like we see from the Walrus right now. Is going to be able to take care of that observer that's been sitting there for quite a while. Here goes OopsiE moving out across the map, heading on down to the south, but the Walrus, he looks like he wants to go in here, and he has quite a few tanks, actually. None of those Ravens actually have gotten over here yet, though, so that might be a little bit of a disadvantage. OopsiE decided to switch tack and head towards the northern base, possibly, or he's probably just waiting for the Walrus to take the first move. I'm not really too sure what his plan was. He kind of went over down towards the south, towards Walrus, and then back up again. Now he looks like he's heading down again. So that's a little bit of an unfortunate position for him, but Walrus is looking at me in a good position here, nearly maxed out. Has quite a scary little mech ball here. Needs to get his units sieged up, however, and this is going to be an interesting kind of decision here. Stalker's army blink up straight up on the tanks, which actually is a good thing for OopsiE, but there are going to be more units coming out of the map, and of course the Vikings are going to be able to deal with most of the Colossus here, and that's going to be a little bit unfortunate here for OopsiE, but on the plus side, it's not like he really needs Colossus into his army right now. What he really needs is, like I said before, those Tempest Immortals would help out a lot right now. He's going to be able to pick off a medevac, so good job there, OopsiE. He's really behind on economy, too. If we actually take a look at our income tab, we have 1,700 to 2,000. Actually, never mind, he's behind. Am I missing something? 8676 right now as far as harvesters are concerned. That's 4 base saturation compared to 5 base, so I don't think he's doing complete 100% saturation. Yeah, he's on 3 base right now. Muling must have caused him to run out a little bit sooner. But here comes OopsiE, moving up into the south here. Is going to be engaging this planetary fortress that is on its way. He's going to lose an observer there in the meantime. He's going to have to really kind of evacuate here, Walrus is, if he wants to save this base and save these SVs, which looks like he's not really too inclined to do. He wants to keep the planetary fortress alive as long as possible until he can build some more units to be able to counteract this. But I don't really think there's any way that he can really be able to survive on through this. OopsiE is going to come with some Zealots and a Colossus up into the base here. We do have a little bit of a Zealot running up to the north here while OopsiE decides, this is my base now. And he's going to immediately destroy everything that Walrus has. And suddenly, Walrus kind of not looking too good with that base advantage right now. He's going to be going up into Thor production. Of course, has the battlecruisers on the way as well. Yamato Cannon is going to be finishing up in just a little bit here. OopsiE is going to be going for a mothership. Alright, then we're going to be seeing OopsiE going to be going in with a lot of Zealots here, but there's quite a bit to be able to defend this. And Hellbats, they don't have Blue Flame, but they're still going to be fairly effective against the Zealots, even 3-3-3 Zealots. Oh my goodness, why is he building Mothership Core? These are the questions that will haunt me forever, folks. We're going to be having the Colossus going to be pretty much taken down, but I think that was OopsiE's kind of intention by throwing it out into the Great Unknown. And by Great Unknown, I mean the base that's right here. Protoss is going to be going up towards the northern base. Looks like he might be wanting to take advantage of this right now, using it for a pylon in the front. He's going to be going for... Mid Alliance are going to be getting off right now. They might be able to get some good shots off, but not really going to be able to get any purchase, actually, because the Blinks were going to be really, really good for him. The Walrus does have his battlecruisers up right now, and that is a lot of damage being taken out by these battlecruisers, but I think that OopsiE might be able to take this. He's been going for carriers behind this, which I really don't agree with. Carriers are a bad decision. Tempests are what you need, OopsiE, not carriers. The Walrus is going to be moving into this base here, at least I hope so. Actually, no, heading towards the north, clearing this away so that he can get the base for himself, which is probably a good point to be made here. There's not really a lot that each of these Walrus can do to defend against, or excuse me, to aggress against OopsiE, considering that there are quite a few cannons throughout the bases that are going to help to defend against this. He's going to get his Mothership Core up, but I really don't understand this decision. He's going to be going for the Tempest now. Does have one carrier. I don't know if I can go behind this. I like the Tempest decision. I think he should continue to keep up on his Archons and continue to keep up on his Immortal production, because that is going to be able to kind of get his army the ability to kind of win through it. But really, the Mothership is really not going to be... I don't really see it being extremely useful here. And I'm not saying that because I don't think the Mothership is good. It does have some points that it's good in. I just don't necessarily believe that this is that point. Walrus is going to be gearing up to defend any sort of a move out here from OopsiE. OopsiE looking like he wants to go for a large number of Zealots in a sort of run-by, probably. Going to be heading down into the very southernmost base that the Walrus owns, and they might be able to get in there. There are a few tanks and quite a few Widow Mines, though, so he should be perfectly fine if the Zealots do indeed end up going into his base. He's going to, meanwhile, push up into the northernmost base here from the Walrus right now, which is going to be a little bit awkward for him. OopsiE is going to be possibly blinking up there. No, he's not. He's going to go for the rocks. Maybe he's wanting to kill these because he feels like killing things. Who knows? Possibly. Quite possibly. Going to continue up on the battlecruiser production for the Walrus right now, which I kind of both agree with. I feel like he needs more to support this than just the battlecruisers right now. I wouldn't mind seeing Ravens, but Ravens are going to be extremely difficult to pull off right now comparatively to this army. But they would be super helpful against both the Tempests and probably even to a certain extent the Stalkers if they get too clumped up together. But that being said, OopsiE is going to have pretty decent control. He showed us earlier in this game that he knows how to use his Blink Stalkers correctly. So probably not going to be as easy for the Walrus to be able to catch off parts of his army. That being said, there is not really a whole lot going on right now. We're going to be having another base being added on here. I have completely lost count from OopsiE right now. Every time it's coming out at his time, you have a couple of Panzers being thrown down here at this base to the north to help defend against this. Meanwhile, we have the Protoss player going for a hidden expansion of sorts up here to the north of the Walrus's base. Meanwhile, OopsiE is going to be planning to move on over. Looks like he might be able to get a little bit done here. Excuse me, got water. Anyways, we're going to be going into quite a bit of defense back home here from OopsiE. Meanwhile, OopsiE's going to kind of sit around here. He might be waiting for a couple extra production cycles to cycle through right now. But he's not really building much, so I'm not sure exactly what his whole plan is on there. Every second that he gives Walrus the extra second to prepare, and right now that's not really what he wants. Obviously, he wants Walrus to have every disadvantage that is possible right now. Corporate reactors coming out from the Walrus, which means we are already seeing a tech switch into, not necessarily a tech switch, probably an add-on of Ravens. We also are seeing durable materials, which I believe is the extension of auto turrets and point defense drones. Yes, that would be a correct statement. So that will be able to help out quite a bit. Lots of Widow Army. Actually, he's going to blink up into the Widow Mines, which is not going to be good for him. A couple of storms and a couple of good feedbacks are going to come off of the battle cruisers. Going to be able to get quite a bit of damage done. But I think the big mistake for OopsiE right there was that he blinked into the Widow Mines. Meanwhile, the Walrus is going to be able to slowly kind of pick away this army. There is a bunch of Tempests back here in the back, though, and that's going to cause a lot of trouble for him if he doesn't take them out quickly. He doesn't really have a lot of Viking numbers. There is a pylon over here, which means that OopsiE's going to have a vast advantage as far as supplying his units, though. Walrus is going to be getting a couple of extra shots off with these Widow Mines. But oh my gosh, the Blink Stalkers moving in front was a bad idea. They went straight up onto those Widow Mines and took a bunch of pot shots, pretty much obliterating themselves almost instantly, while the rest of the army tried to catch up and get down that mothership core. I still think that the Walrus could benefit by getting some more Vikings, and I don't mind battlecruisers, but I think battlecruisers are more of a seasoning unit, in the sense that they're more of a, hey, I'm going to add this in a little bit for extra damage, extra CC, a little bit like Tempest in that regard, because Tempests are very couple extra units. We're going to be seeing a push in here right now. OopsiE is going to be moving out, and that is, lots of damage actually going off here for the Planetary Fortress. There is going to be a mass repair going off on it, but it's not going to be quick enough. You know you have a lot of damage when you could out mass repair your opponent, or you can outlast the mass repair your opponent. I suppose that's what I wanted to say. Walrus is kind of scrambling here to try to get back into this. He's going to be losing quite a bit, but I don't think he's out yet. By no means. We're going to be seeing the Immortal kind of take on that Planetary Fortress rather easily, in fact. Oh my goodness, that Immortal is doing a lot of damage right now. Meanwhile, the Tempest RB taking out a couple of... here. A couple Widow Mines are about to fire off here. They might be able to get a little bit of damage off on that Immortal. Yes, one is going to go down. We gotta have +2 in the air coming up here from Protoss area, so this army is going to get a little bit stronger here. Vikings are on their way to help defend against this, and I think with this next round, he should be able to take out all of these Tempests. Possibly. We'll have to kind of see what's going on there. Meanwhile, OopsiE's going to be trading free bullets for the Planetary Fortress being repaired. 5 more Tempests are on the way from OopsiE, which is just not a good idea for him. I really think that right now, the best number for him to have right now is probably 4 to 5. He doesn't really need any more than that. He's also kind of forsaken his mortal production to go on to an additional Tempest, which I do not agree with in any way. this base is in a little bit of a danger right now. Yeah, too many Tempests. That's I think going to be a big thing here from OopsiE. But that being said, the Walrus doesn't have a whole lot back home. He does have a couple of Vikings up in the air that should be able to help deal with this. But currently he's going to be losing this northern base at the very least, if not anything more. Oh, that refinery is in a bit of a jam. Where did my production tab go? There we go. Another base is going to be dropping down here from our protest player, and another base is going to be dropping down for our Terran player as well. Actually grabbing a couple of additional command centers so he can get additional scanning capabilities, as well as possibly planetary fortresses for early defense, which I very much do agree with. If you have the money, guys, it's never a bad idea to add on more CCs as a Terran player. Walrus is going to be seeing all that there is to see, and OopsiE is going to be a little bit upset at that. We are lots of Vikings here, which should be able to take out a lot of these Tempests. This is way too many Tempests! OopsiE, what are you doing? You overproduced on Tempest. He's going to go for a Storm in the choke point, which is a good idea. I like that style, and he's going to be able to rip away a couple of those Hellions. But really, too many Tempests. Too many Tempests right now, OopsiE. That's the big thing I think that's going on wrong for him. He needs to make sure that the Tempests are seasonings. Like I said before, they're the salt on the French fries. They don't need to be very much. But, oh hey, that's going to make me hungry now. I kind of want French fries. But there's a little bit of seasoning on the top that helps out the composition. They're not the composition, and I think that's one of the problems a lot of people have with using Tempests. They tend to use them more as a mass unit than as an additional helping unit. It's a lot like carriers in that regard, or battlecruisers. They're just a little bit extra that can help out quite a bit with compositional advantage. Here comes in a major engagement coming between our two players right now. Vikings are getting a lot of storms on them, but at the end of the day, the Vikings are going to be left standing to be able to take out some of these Tempests. There are a lot of Blinkstalkers on the ground, though, but even more Vikings are just going to be coming up quite a bit out right now. And the Walrus looks like he might be able to... Oh, no, he's going to lose the engagement once again. I don't know how I really feel about Walrus right now. Oh, gosh. Lots of Blinkstalkers are coming up, but they're going to be going straight up into the Widow Mines once again, which is just an interesting decision. I think actually both of those are on cooldown. Yes, they did manage to get a little bit of damage, though. OopsiE needs to be more careful about where he blinks right now, so that he doesn't end up getting into Widow Mines, which would end up being a little bit of a disappointment. That's not usually how you want to lose engagements there. Gold base is getting mined out, and indeed a lot of these bases are starting to kind of lose their mineral patches, while we see both of our players start to get a bit oversaturated in trying to get as much resources as possible, as quickly as possible, so that they can keep up with their armies right now. Is going to continue up on Viking production, is going to be going up onto additional Widow Mines, which is a good idea, considering that OopsiE just keeps going more Tempests, and really, I know I'm going to start to sound like a broken record, but Tempests aren't what he needs right now. Yes, a couple of Tempests are a good idea, but they're not a good mass unit, especially not against a mech player who gets a couple of Ravens, and then goes Hunter-Seeker missiles, and then suddenly you're not able to do a whole lot about it. We're going to be seeing a storm actually going to be going off on the Hellbats. A lot of loss damage going to be caused there because they were transforming. OopsiE going to be in a little bit of a interesting position, not going to be pressing back in, even though he can very easily take on the rest of the Walrus's army right now. So a little bit of a mistake, I feel, on his part. Meanwhile, the Walrus is going to be keeping up onto his Viking and Widowmine count, which I don't know how I agree with that. I would like to see more added into his army, especially Ravens, because they would really be able to help out quite a bit with these Tempests. A lot of damage is going to get done here. Walrus is going to be losing this entire army, and that's really not going to be good, at least as far as on this ground. He does have quite a few units up here to help defend against this, but this is not the time for him to be able to try and push his luck. He needs to kind of cut his losses, fall back, get a few extra units, and then probably try to move out again, only at that point. And if OopsiE tries to get into his main base, then that's when you go ahead and defend. But right now he needs to cut his losses and get more units out. He's going to be very behind on his gas production. Actually, both players are going to be rather behind on their gas production, as most of the map's gas starts to get mined out slowly but surely. You know, OopsiE is going to kind of sense a decision here. We're seeing a Winnow Mine going to be getting off a shot on the Stalkers, but not really going to be able to do too much. Meanwhile, OopsiE is going to be pushing up into the bottom right-hand base here. Planetary Fortress is in danger, and that no matter else repair is going to be able to help you there, buddy. I really disagree with the increased Tempest production right now. That's starting to sound like a broken record, but that's really not the best decision from OopsiE. I would love to see additional Immortals added into this army. Actually, probably not, now that I think about it, considering that there isn't a whole lot on the ground for the Walrus. He is going for Hellions, but those aren't going to be really affected by Immortals anyways. These other two bases are going to be going down, 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 and they will be taken out fairly shortly here. And OopsiE is going to be doing a very good job of a very aggressive style of Protoss player, which I don't normally see a whole lot. It's kind of a refreshing kind of style, as you see a lot of Protoss players just kind of prefer to macro up, get a couple of units, unless you're going to be seeing like something like a 4-gate, in which case, yeah, they're going to be extremely aggressive. But besides that, usually I see a lot of macro Protoss, so it's good to see a very aggressive style of Protoss as a contrast to that. The Walrus is going to continue up on his production of the Vikings, the Hellions, and such, and right now that's really a good idea for him because he needs to be as cost efficient as he possibly can, as he has really not much gas production. I think right now he's actually got... Oh yeah, he still has gas production. For a second there I thought he didn't, but the fact that they're so low on gas production right now shows how late this game is starting to get. We're getting into the 50 minute mark, which means that stuff's starting to mine out quite a bit, and there's going to be eventually no resource patches available, in which case it's going to be whoever's army wins the next engagement. And at the point we're making right now, the Walrus, his engagements haven't necessarily been the best. He's lost the past 3 or 4 to our Protoss opponent here. OopsiE going to be having quite a few of his probes actually going to get sniped here, which is a good thing for the Walrus, but there is going to be a blink forward, and those Hellions are going to be chased away. You know, OopsiE's coming in with a Tempest ready to strike. Vikings already moving forward. Blink Stalkers already heading up back and moving back. Meanwhile, we have a couple of Ravens going for point defense drones, and this is kind of what I meant, guys. If you rely too much on your Tempest, you end up really kind of not doing very good, considering that Ravens can just pop down some PBDs and, oh hey, everything's fine. And the Tempests are not really able to gain as much steam as they previously were able to. All these Vikings are going to be able to clean up, but really Walrus is looking pretty good as far as this engagement is concerned. 4 more Tempests are on the way, and OopsiE really needs to not... I don't mind the Tempests, but I think that at this point they're not necessarily the best unit for him. And he's building way too much of them. He's still building way too much of them. So I would like to see a little bit of something different from here from our Protoss player. I wouldn't mind seeing... probably... I like the Immortals simply because that's a good idea against tanks. A couple of Immortals wouldn't be a bad idea. I wouldn't mind seeing Archon and Charge Lots in the future engagements, so he can do that. And possibly High Templar so that he can get these Ravens. Not mentioning if he can get that feedback off, he can pretty much kill most of these Ravens at full energy. Excuse me, hiccups. And yeah, High Templar are a good idea right now. I think that's a good idea, and he needs to focus more, less on his storming capabilities and more on his feedback capabilities. Actually, a couple of these are going to actually go down immediately. Actually, going to be taking into the probe line, which is just not a good idea. The Walrus is going to be pushing up into the base over here, and that's going to be in danger of falling. Meanwhile, back down here in the south, we have the Walrus having to float his buildings off, but right now, Walrus is just looking extremely solid. I do like the Banshees added on now as well, and OopsiE needs to do something now. He needs to be very quick about how he transitions if he wants to make sure that he keeps into this, and really, he needs to transition. He can't keep up onto the Stalker Tempest for the rest of the game and expect to win. He needs something more into this composition, and he really kind of needs it now. Actually, he needed it like 3 minutes ago, or at least a passive engagement at the very least. We're going to have a blink forward, killing off that Banshee straight away, and now the Ravens are going to go to work and help out in taking this army down, but the Tempests are not going to be able to get anything down because of the point defense drones, and they're just going to be losing a lot of steam there, and they're actually getting caught out in the middle of the map. The Walrus is going to be able to catch every last one of them, and those are going to be able to go down in just a little bit. He's going to be able to take out quite a few Ravens with them, though, so they might be a tad bit more cost-efficient. I still disagree with the Tempest decision. Why is he building more Tempests? Actually, he's not building anything right now. He needs more into this army, and he needs to do that relatively quickly. Stalkers are going to be caught out right now, and those are going to be going down. Tempests are down, and there's not really much OopsiE can do. He's really low on gas. He's losing a lot of steam, and he's got very low supply, and Walrus looking very strong right now. Stormings, yeah, I would definitely say Storm and P-backs off of Templar, and probably Archons as well, just to help out with the Vikings. Probably maybe a couple of Warlords army as well. I think that's probably the big things. OopsiE is going to be coming on in, or excuse me, is going to be leaving this base up here. Walrus is going to be coming on in. Sorry guys, this is a bit of a long game. I'm kind of tired. We're going to be having the Nexus. Going to be going on down. We do one Immortal on the way, but that's really not going to be enough to take out an entire 144 supply Terran army, which is scary in many, many different terms of the word. He's going over to Colossus again, which is an interesting decision. I don't agree with that at all, actually. I think Colossus is really just a waste of his money. There's a lot of anti-air, especially in these Vikings, and really, he's got a couple of Thors too, so there's really no excuse to be going for Colossus right now. I like the idea that he's going to be transitioning. I think he should have done it way earlier, but Colossus transition is definitely not in his best interest. Meanwhile, Walrus is going to be taking this gold base over here, and really a lot of bases have been mined out to this point. This gold is still open, and this space down here is mostly full. A couple of spare patches over in these areas, but we're starting to kind of run out of that resource department. So the Walrus, if he wants to end this, kind of really needs to end this soon, and OopsiE needs to try to hold on and try to remain in this game, get as much production as he possibly can out of all of that he has. He's going to be going for a couple of scans over here from the Walrus, just seeing what is up from OopsiE, and he's going to be setting himself up down here at this base where there's one cannon, but it's okay. That cannon is friendly. I think the best idea for OopsiE right now is to be able to just kind of turtle up, try to get as much resources as possible, but Walrus is doing a very good job of not allowing that to happen. And with the differences in supplies, that really is, that's quite telling, honestly. And honestly, at the end of the day, I think that Walrus is going to win this. He has a bigger advantage in almost every way at this point. A compositional advantage, the economical advantage. And here comes the engagement coming between these two players. Probably is going to be the final engagement. A couple storms are coming off nice and neat on the back line. And actually we're able to do quite a bit. Oh yes, he did feedback one of those Ravens as well. So doing a good job as far as that's concerned. I like the engagement, but he didn't have the supply to back it up. And right now the Walrus, he did, and he's going to, as he continues to get more economy off of these bases, getting 2 gold bases now, and OopsiE's just gonna go ahead and leave the game. Alright guys, now it's time as always as we take a look at each of these players and what they could have done better so that they and you can learn a little bit for next time. So we're going to start with our Protoss player, as he was the unfortunate loser of this particular game. I think the big thing that I pointed out, and I know I said it a lot, so you guys can probably see this coming, was the Tempest that brought him down. As I said before, Tempests are a very seasonal unit, and not like winter, fall, spring, summer, seasonal. Haha, you're so funny, ZookaMan. But seasonal, as like I mentioned before, they're a very special unit used in very certain situations in very small numbers. Mass Tempests don't usually win you games, and that is mostly because of that reason. They need proper support behind them in order to be properly effective. In this case, they were not. All they had behind them were the Blink Stalkers, and the Blink Stalkers at that point had already phased out of the game. The only reason he was really using them, in my opinion, was because the charge lots would be completely ineffective against the Hellbats. So I think that that's a big thing that I think OopsiE could have done better. I think he should have transitioned earlier, transitioned harder, and he should have done something a lot better with those units and not keep up on the Tempest, Massing Tempest. Don't ever do that. You always want to sprinkle a couple in. Like, you want to sprinkle a couple of carriers in. You want to sprinkle a couple of battle cruisers in. You want to sprinkle a couple of ravens in. A lot of those units are very special units, and they're very powerful in very low numbers, so you don't need to use a whole lot of them. And they end up sometimes causing you more grief than help when you get too many of them. Besides that, economy on key, he was behind a couple of bases in the early game, but that's quite alright. Over the Walrus side of things, I think he did a really good game. He was very on par with a lot of his economy. He kept up on a really good compositional advantage. I think the one thing I would have liked to see more, especially in the mid to early to mid-late game, I know that's not necessarily really a thing, but I would love to see more Ravens in his army. Yes, the Protoss could have been able to easily feedback, but with the Walrus's control that I've seen in the past, I'm sure he wouldn't have had too much problem in dealing with that. I think that a little bit more Banshee pressure and a little bit more air presence would have been a better idea earlier on, especially once the Tempest hit the field, so that he could deal with them quickly and then move on to the ground army, and that way he was able to keep up onto his opponent. But besides that, on par, keep him on bases. This is actually one of the better games that I've ever seen from him, and this is a really good game, guys, coming in here from the Diamond League. I believe it's still Diamond. Okay, guys, I think this will be it for this one. Before I go, real quick announcements. Words are difficult. This has been a quite a long game, and it's kind of difficult in my throat. Anyways, if you like this cast, please comment, like, subscribe, and share. If you'd like to get your game casted by me, you can send a replay on over to ZookaMan900@gmail.com, which will be in the description below. Or if you'd like, you can get a replay casted, and don't mind if it's me. Check out the subreddit Casted. I really, really strongly advise you check that out anyways. It's a great place to meet both casters and players, and it's a really good community, really great people. And it's really, really great. Go check that out. It's a great place. Besides that, one little thing I want to also mention, actually 2 other things I want to mention. There is going to be additional content on the field for me in a little bit. I'm planning on doing in the next couple of weeks here. A couple of surprise things that I've been debating over myself, so keep an eye out for that. And those will be coming up in the nearest future. They're not going to be StarCraft related things. They're going to be other games, but we will... you guys will see when that comes up, what that's going to be at. Second thing I wanted to mention is that if you guys have any feedback, casting opinions, anything along those lines, feel free to let me know. I've been trying a lot to try to get back into things. I've taken a long break between this cast, last cast, and then I had a big break between the last cast and the last cast before that, and I had like a 6-month break before that. So I haven't had a lot of consistent practice, and I'm going to try to work on getting back to my schedule and getting a cast out every day so that I can improve. But if you have any tips or advice, or anything you guys want me to see that can help me, or anything along those lines, I would be glad to see it, and it would be extremely appreciated. Besides that, I think that's going to be it for this one, guys. So this is ZookaMan, and we'll see you on the next cast. Take care, guys.